Well, we can all breathe a sigh of relief after the Bulls finally closed out a game in what looked like to be another debacle of a blown lead. And I'll be honest, when I saw the Magic cut it to single digits in the fourth quarter, I really thought the Bulls were going to blow this one. Like, based on what we have seen from this team, especially the last two games in which they have completely fallen apart in the second half without any will to win a game whatsoever, the momentum on the side of the Magic with the crowd back into it, honestly, I was fully prepared to just send out a tweet saying, I'm not doing a post-game video tonight. I'm over this team. I'm over this season. But somehow the Bulls got their act together, started making shots, played solid defense, and it also helped that the Magic played pretty poorly down the stretch, taking bad shots, especially Jalen Suggs, who took some bad shots and committed some bad fouls in the final minutes. Found it pretty odd that they decided to go with Suggs down the stretch, but hey, I'll take it. I'm not going to say this was a good game per se for the Bulls, because while yes, they played well, opened up the third quarter by going on a 25-point lead, and even though they were still able to close out the game and win it, they also nearly blew that 25-point lead. Yeah, the Magic never brought it down within 6 points. The fact still remains you allowed a team like the Magic to go on a 26-9 run at one point. Okay, let's not try and act like that's not a problem and something the Bulls have struggled with all season long. But unlike what we have seen recently, they persevered. As Billy Donovan said in his last post-game interview in their loss against the Hornets, they needed to be desperate. I don't know if desperate is the right word, but the Bulls did kick it up a notch to where they knew they couldn't lose this game. They knew they couldn't blow another lead like they did to a bad team. There was a sense of urgency, desperation, whatever you want to call it, that we didn't see in the last two games where guys just simply quit on the team, getting their heads down, complaining about calls, playing bad defense, and not caring about winning the game. That was the difference tonight, is the guys actually cared to try and finish out this game and not giving up because the opposing team was going on a run and things weren't going their way. A couple things from tonight that I like seeing was, rather than DeRozan really being the only guy that steps up in the fourth quarter and comes through in the clutch, you saw both Patrick Williams and Zach Lavine hit big shots in the final minutes to give the Bulls that cushion and ride out the run made by the Magic, as well as Vucevic, which I take that back because Vuce actually has done well in hitting big shots from time to time this season, and even Patrick Williams actually has had some nice shots in the fourth quarter. But to see Zach Lavine, first of all, had a big game, which I'll get to, but his shot selection and actually hitting said shots was much better in the fourth quarter. I loved seeing him play off the screen, taking it to the basket rather than hoisting up contested threes, and he was a big reason why the Bulls finished out the game, putting the Magic away in the fourth quarter. 32 points on 11 for 18 shooting, 3 for 7 from 3, and was a plus 24 on the night. A big turnaround game when you compare it to the performances he had against the Hornets and the Pacers. Lavine also looked much more confident and agile getting to the hoop. You know, the last few games we've been talking about it. Is Zach's hand right after he suffered that contusion? He was turning the ball over, simply losing his dribble. His shot was way off. Tonight he looked much better, much more composed, took much better care of the ball. Only one turnover in this game. The entire Bulls starting lineup was great tonight, by the way. Io struggled offensively, but defensively he had a really nice game, was very active in reading passes in the paint, had some nice high-flying blocks. But outside of Io, great balanced scoring from the rest of the Bulls starters. You saw another solid game from Patrick Williams, active on both ends of the floor, 16 points, 7 for 11 shooting, was cutting to the basket, making plays, 6 rebounds tonight as well. We keep seeing these sparks from Pat. These good games from him, just need to see it happen on a consistent basis. Vucevic tonight, going up against his former team. Everyone always talks about how the Vuce trade was comically bad and how the Bulls got fleeced in this one. Vuce made a point to show up well against his former team in Orlando. He was very active on offense early, 26 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 blocks, which, by the way, was more in every category combined than Wendell Carter Jr. and Franz Wagner. What was great about Vuce tonight is he was aggressive in the post. He wanted the ball in his hands going up against Mo Wagner and Wendell Carter Jr. He was hitting his jumpers as well, which have been missing a lot for him recently. And aggressive Vucevic on offense is always going to be a recipe for success. It's just we haven't seen that from Vucevic consistently, where he doesn't look engaged at all times on the court. And then DeMar, like Zach, also finished with 32 points on 11 for 14 shooting, 5 for 5 from 3. I feel like that's got to be a record for most threes DeMar has hit in a single game, at least on that efficiency anyway. DeMar also had 8 assists on the game and was a plus 17 on the night. This is what I want to see. Balanced scoring across the board, especially among the Bulls' big three. 30 assists tonight as a team compared to the abysmal 18 assists they had the other night against the Hornets. Near 60% shooting from the field, 45% from 3. You know what was crazy about this game was that it was the complete opposite both teams had in terms of their starters' performances versus their bench. The Magic starters played like trash tonight. So much so, Jamal Mosley decided to go with his bench for most of the fourth quarter. Mo Wagner was lighting up the Bulls, which, by the way, dude is probably one of the more annoying players in the league, always complaining about foul calls, doing cheap shots. If you remember last year, he got into it with DeMar, so screw that guy. But he was the best player on there for the Magic tonight. Cole Anthony was great for them as well. The Magic had more points off the bench than their starters. You don't see that very often in the NBA. Paolo Banchero, not a good night for him. Pat was great on him. Wagner also didn't play well. Franz Wagner, that is. Wendell was okay, but, you know, he got benched too late in the game. Anyway, I don't have too much else to add, although I will say it's still very odd to me that Andre Drummond isn't getting any playing time, especially considering the fact you're going against a team that has a lot of size and length, but whatever, the Bulls got to win. Solid game. I wouldn't call it a great game because you saw the Bulls blow such a big lead in such a short time frame, but a win is a win. Bulls are still 11th in the East, though, with the Wizards on a 5-game winning streak, but baby steps, I guess. The Bulls are actually going to be off until Tuesday when they'll be back home taking on the Clippers. Until then, I'm sure we'll have more trade rumors and other topics to discuss. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.